I've been taking stock of my friends and what's going on in our lives and everything. And just, I'll say that as men, we collectively don't seem to be doing well. Like, things are rough in lots of different areas, lots of categories. In the jeopardy of men, we are in jeopardy. Near every facet of life feels like more confusing, more difficult to navigate in a way that feels like you are definitely doing the right thing. I do believe that lots of people are doing their best, truly. I just also think that, okay, as an example, I can't read a map. You give me even if you gave me a map of this building and pointed to where I was right now and told me to get to a specific bathroom, I'm probably gonna end up outside. Like, I cannot seem to read a map. As much as I try, I end up turning it. So I tried to be a Boy Scout for a little while. It was terrible. And because when you trying to be a Boy Scout, like when you really trying to go for all the badges at once, everything, you really not getting anything, you are just being a problem in the woods. And one of the things was, like, I could not work a compass because I was like, it's supposed to go in every time, right? And they were like, no, it's supposed to show you where north is by how it's positioned, but it doesn't have to point north every time. I'm like, oh, okay, because it's dangling. And they were like, well, did you let a magnet touch it or something? And I was like, I don't see what that should have to do with anything. Like, they're like, no, well, the compass works off, like, the poles of so if you touch it with a magnet, it confuses the... So you got a piece of paper telling me where I am and where I need to get, and then you gave me a cup of metal that points anywhere it wants to. And somehow I'm the one that doesn't know what he's doing. Why are we even in the woods right now? We live inside. Have you ever thought of that? Try as I might, I could not read a map. Even if you lay the thing out where I needed to go, where I was now, and the way to get there, it's like in practice. I couldn't close that gap in my mind because I knew that the map is a suggestion. It's a good one, but the map doesn't have to do all these steps. Even the compass is a tool, but if it's spinning, we might as well be Pirates of the Caribbean or something. Like, that doesn't... This thing doesn't help me at all. I don't know where it's pointing, and it won't be still. I'm being still, it won't be still. How does that work? Is north moving? Is north on its own journey? Try as I might, I could not seem to read a map, and that is what it feels like to, at least to me, be a man now. There's a map, and the map is laid out with lots of good suggestions, and you even get tools along the way to make sure that you get to where you want to be, which is being a successful man, being a good man, being a respected man. But then in actual practice, walking that road, you're like, look, the paper says. But when I look around, it's tough. It is, especially with love. Like in regards to like love, attraction, seeking someone out and meeting someone you like, trying to take it to another level. It can be difficult because if you are, I won't even say good, if you are at least a regular man, bad men have ruined everything for you. And I'm not talking about the like, but I'm a good guy. I'm talking about if you are just a regular tax-paying citizen who doesn't do any crimes and is generally nice to people, maybe a wave. Not even talking about a good, outstanding man. If you're just a regular guy, bad men have ruined everything for you already before you got there, right? It's like they showed up in the room right before you and farted. And then you walk in and you can't prove it's not you. But you know it's not you. You know you didn't do anything. And the bad man that farted has already left the room. We're all living in his wake. And it's hard to find the actual bad man sometimes because he's stealthy, he's disguised. You know what I mean? You'd have to follow him around all day. You'd have to follow him every waking minute just to have the proof that he's a bad man. You would. That's why it takes years sometimes to figure people out. You'd have to hunt him down and then take the picture and run into the room and be like, he was eating beans. Those were his farts. You just have guys that maybe don't have someone to tell them how to go about life, like that, whether you call it a father figure or just like friends in general that can be that sort of guiding light of here's how you handle each situation, especially when it comes to dating. Like who you pick to be with is a huge part of your life because it's gonna be most of your life picking people, and we're not doing fantastic. And I say that as like not from a place of judgment, just from looking around. It's pretty apparent. You look at the internet is fueled with so much anger, like so much hate. A lot of it is resentment for what people don't have or don't feel like they can get, and it leads people to not take care of themselves. One of the most attractive things you can do is take care of yourself. Just let the water. I can tell exactly how depressed my friends are by how it smells when I walk in their apartment. Do you know what I mean? Like every once in a while you get like a little whiff here and there, and it's like, all right, you just came back from a game of pickup basketball. It's gonna be like that in here. And then sometimes you visit a buddy and you're like, ooh, she left. Yep, she's gone. Like I have friends who, obviously friends that are trying to date everybody across the spectrum. But one thing that I have found as a point of frustration is when people don't listen to me about things that feel they feel pretty apparent. You can take my advice, you cannot take my advice. It doesn't actually affect me. I just want people to be happy, right? And so a good example is like when your friend says he's got a date and that she's coming over and you're like, here. And then he has the nerve to be like, what? No. You know what? Here is what? What is here? Or then I'll have a conversation, I'll have a conversation with some of the women that I know in my life that will not believe me when I give them advice about men. But I have no ulterior motive. I'm just like, hey, this thing is happening. Just so you know, I'm trying to be helpful. And it's weird because we as people accept a lot of things as an idea, in a big way, right? So you'll hear men are dogs, blah, blah, blah. Every man wants one thing. All guys are after the same thing. And those are almost principles that people live by. But then when you tell your friend, hey, that's a dog. And then she's like, no, not Mark. He's so sweet. It's like, what are you doing? We just established that and there's a level of frustration that comes with that when it would be like if someone came to you, right? Like a dog owner came to you and they were like, I don't know why my dog is doing this thing. And then you told them because you're someone who has trained dogs, been around dogs a lot. So you're like, this is why your dog is doing it. Oh, you also in this scenario happen to be a dog. So then you're a dog that's trained dogs and been around dogs all your life, telling someone, because you are a talking dog, you can speak, telling them why this dog is doing that thing. And then they're like, no. That doesn't sound right. But it is. It is. No, not Mark. He's so sweet. I've known him for so long. I'm telling you, that's a dog. Not Mark. Mark is the sweetest. You don't know him like I know him. Like, I don't need to know him at all. I know the 4 facts you've told me about Mark, so I know exactly what Mark is trying to do. No, not sweet Mark. I'm like, you need to stop calling him Mark. From now on, his name is Ark, Ark, Ark. That is a dog. You wouldn't believe the conversations I've had trying to be helpful. You know what I mean? Like, especially in like high school, like college, you try to help your friends and everything. Conversation. Wait, you mean to tell me that this guy is just hanging around me and secretly wants to be with me and is willing to be friends with me for years just so that he might have a chance, be my friend throughout all of my other relationships, and likes to go on these, like, not quite dates, but mini dates where we go to the movies together and then we get dinner and then we go back to my place and hang out and then fall asleep together. You mean to tell me that guy is trying to be with me? He thinks about being with me all the time. He wants to hang out with me more even. He always seems a little sullen and slow to text back when I start dating a new guy, but that's just because he's busy. There's no way that he wants to be with me. And then I have to be like, what do you think I'm doing? Oh, it's tough. And one of the things that makes it tough for like boys, but especially young men, is that there isn't a sort of roadmap, and I don't expect there to be, because like human connection is so nuanced, and what people mean to each other is going to be different by a different degree for every person. But I think that in like popular culture and as a general narrative, we have started to just straight up vilify a man's attraction in general. And it's something that I don't know how you recover from if that's the narrative that's out there. And I understand why people are hesitant. It's a thin line. It's a very thin line to walk as a dude who is attracted to someone and trying to act on that thing. Try and let them know you're interested, trying to make the first move. It's a tightrope, and it's scary to do. Not just because rejection is scary, but the thing you do next will determine how they feel about you probably forever. Because there's not a lot of going back you can do if you're friends and then you try to be more, or if you shoot your shot with a person you don't even know. All that stuff takes a lot of bravery. And it's not always going to be done right, especially when you're young, you're making mistakes, you know? Like I remember in class, my buddy, he had the biggest crush on this girl. Oh, and we're young, and he didn't know what to do with all that pent up energy. So he's daydreaming, and he starts drawing her. Decides to draw her, and draws a beautiful picture of her, right? Like got her hair as if it was blowing in the wind, got her face perfect. He was a really, really talented artist, right? So he drew her and he drew him. And then just by happenstance, because he was so lost in it, he didn't catch that the bell had rung. And so we're all getting up, we're all leaving, and then she passes his desk. She sees it, and she's like, "Hey, is that me?" And he has to be like, oh, yeah. And he had drawn her so beautifully. She was genuinely touched. She was like, "That's amazing. You're so talented. Oh my gosh, that's beautiful." And I don't know. I think she was just so taken aback because none of us knew he could draw that well, you know? And so she was like, Can I have it? And he was like, yeah. And he was leaning on his desk right next to where he was finishing up some touches on her. And he's like, yeah, but now he doesn't want to move. Because he also drew him next to her. And he drew a version of him that is unrecognizable. He drew a version of him with abs. Y'all, we're 13. He drew a version of him with abs, with boulder shoulders, like truly looking like an anime character, just jacked, top to bottom, knuckles jacked, everything. Had the big old muscle behind the ear, everything. Hair flowing too, hair almost as good as hers. But you know, people are walking out, and he already said that she could have it. And so she's like, "Can I have it?" And he's like, "Oh, yeah." Leans up a little bit, and so she finally sees the other side, and she's like, "Oh." Is that you? And my man sat there and was like, nah, like that's just the, you know, the type of dude I want you to find. You know what I mean? Like somebody that, you know what I mean, like you really deserve, you know what I mean? Like you know, just somebody you might meet one day who's right in front of you. Because so much of attraction is about timing. We don't give timing enough credit. there's all this stuff like if one guy does one thing and another guy does the same thing and the woman goes for one of the guys, it's because he's more attractive and the other guy's creepy, or we've seen this sort of narrative play out over and over again. But what we don't talk about in those situations is the timing. When did this person say this thing? When did this person say this thing? When did this person do this thing? When did the other person do it? So much of attraction is about timing. And I've talked to my friends and I've asked them before. I'm like, what are you even looking for in a guy? And I'm like, I just want like an honest guy. And I was like, I'm gonna stop you right there. Because so many men are such freaks that you really gotta parse out the honesty over time. Some people think that omission is dishonesty, right? But omission might be why you're in a relationship. Because if you knew top to bottom who they were immediately, it might make you hesitate. I'm not saying lie. I'm not saying be a liar. I'm saying that honesty comes to a point. Like, let's say you meet someone. You meet someone that you very much like, and maybe it's just off of the connection, seeing each other from across the room. He walks over and he says to you plainly, "Hi, my name, right? I don't know you, but I'd like to. Would you have dinner with me? I think that we could have a really good time." You know what I mean? You see that thing alone. I feel like that's almost perfect. That's like out of a movie, right? But an honest man, a truly honest man, walks up to you. Honest from the bottom of his heart. Doesn't know how to lie. It doesn't come naturally to him. An honest man walks up to you and says, Hi, I just noticed you, and I know I don't know you, but I'd like to. And I'd love to take you out sometime, if that's okay. And I'll suck your toes if you let me. Do you see where he should have stopped? Do you see where a certain amount of honesty was too much? It was true in both cases, but one guy had the common sense to stop talking at a certain point. Honesty is important. Honesty is very important. But I also think if you're being honest with a person and you're being self-aware at the same time, there are things that you omit on the front end until you get to know them. Some people think omission is lying, but I think omission timed well is like the appropriate time to tell someone something. You start dating a guy, maybe it's going really well. Maybe it's a week, 2 weeks in, slept over a few times. You wake up, you roll over, he's like waking up as well, and he's like, "Hey, you want breakfast? I make some mean pancakes." Perfect. Wake up next to an honest man. You're waking up. You roll over, he's waking up. He's like, "Hey, you hungry? I make some mean pancakes, and I've actually been awake for an hour. I was just smelling your hair." Been dating somebody for a little bit. You're texting, "Oh, how you doing? Oh, I'm good. How are you? I'm good. Miss you. Miss you too. Oh, how'd you sleep last night? Oh, slept okay. You have any dreams? Yeah, actually I did. What'd you dream about? Dreamed about you." Good place to stop. Fantastic place to stop. This is where you stop. Hey, how you doing? Oh, I'm good. How are you? I'm good. Just, waking up. Oh, you have any dreams? Yeah, dreams. What did you dream about? Oh, I dreamed about you. Oh, really? Yeah, I dreamed about you, and we went on vacation together, and then we actually had this like whole vacation plan. We were in like the Virgin Islands, and then I got us this like surfing lesson because we had talked on the day of I want to surf. I don't know why I was dreaming about surfing, but I dreamed that we were doing this like surfing lesson together, and then like the surf instructor was like kind of hitting on you a little bit, and then like you were able to surf really well, like you took to it like a duck to water, and I was like over here falling all the time, and because you were doing so well he was giving you extra tips, so he basically spent the entire lesson just giving you attention and everything, and then I was like fighting to not drown and just sort of laying on the board the whole time and everything, and then afterwards, after the lesson was over, he like slipped you his number, and so then we went to dinner, and while we were waiting on our food, I was like, oh, I'll be right back, and then I left the restaurant and I tracked him down, and I had a little conversation with him about trying to steal people's girlfriends during surfing lessons, if that's something that he really does, and if he does it often. He's like, no, and I'm like, yeah, and then we took another little surfing lesson. We took a little trip down to the beach, and I just sort of pushed his, where the sand and the water sort of splash, where the wet sand was, I just sort of pushed his head into the water until the tide was sort of going over it. And so I couldn't really tell if there were bubbles or not because there's so much wet sand and everything. But I just sort of held it there until he stopped struggling, and then I woke up. I think it's important to be honest. I do. I just think it's important to be self-aware, too. I'm not saying be a liar. I'm just saying, like, check yourself. Check in with yourself. Know who you are. Know what that's going to sound like, depending on the timing. Timing is everything. It's so important. When I was in high school, my boy, he finally asked this girl out that he had a crush on for a couple years, right? Finally just went for it. Something about summer just made him a new man. Asked her out, and she said yes. Oh, we're off to a great start. Asked her out, asked her to a movie. Asked her to a movie, and she said she wanted to see Spider-Man. Okay, great choice. Phenomenal date. We both like Spider-Man. We don't have a lot of life experience. We're crossing over heavily. So he said he'd take her to see Spider-Man. Take her to the movies to see Spider-Man. That was their date. What she didn't know, what he did was he didn't just buy their tickets to see Spider-Man. He bought out the theater. And timing is everything. Because they get there and sitting down, lights get low, previews even start, and she was like, wow, I thought other people want to see Spider-Man. I thought it was a pretty popular movie. And then he turns to her. With a biblical lack of self-awareness. After she says, I thought other people would have been in the theater, with us, want to see Spider-Man. I've been hearing about it all week. He turns to her and he goes, oh, I made sure nobody would be here. Why even word it like that? What are you doing? He said that as soon as he said it, he saw the look on her face. He said it felt like she was waiting the whole movie for Spider-Man to rescue her. And that's why timing is so important. Because depending on when you do something like that, depends on how it comes off. This is a first date. Do you know what I mean? Even there are some people who would find that sort of gesture romantic if you said, oh, I'll take you to see Spider-Man. And I'll make sure we get our own private theater. Ooh, okay. That's different. But saying I'm going to take you to see Spider-Man and not telling her no one else will be there, even as you sit down, they have the popcorn, the drinks, everything. Middle of the movie, makes his move, tries to put that arm around her, right? And because there was so much room in the theater, she did sit one seat away. Because once he said it, I don't think, he just couldn't save it. There was no aspect of the rest of the movie where he wasn't like, you're locked in here with me. He said he had to keep turning to her the whole movie when stuff would happen, be like, crazy. It's wild, right? You know. Oh. And so it can feel sometimes a bit hard to find your footing when it comes to attraction, because everyone, from the people closest to you to the people far away, feel far away. If you don't really know how to connect, and especially now, we've built a sort of like scary parasocial connection with people that we're attracted to that they can't possibly know on the other end. And then it comes out in comments online. It comes out sometimes in whole articles. There's a line between like fascination and then crossing over into something pretty weird. I don't know if y'all saw, but apparently Sydney Sweeney, the actress Sydney Sweeney, is going to be selling bars of soap that contain her bathwater. Now, if you don't know who Sydney Sweeney is, she is an actress that is like, not just like an A-list actress, she is her generation's like top bombshell. Like, people have been freaking out and lusting over Sydney Sweeney for a long time. And is pretty creepy. It's like, don't get me wrong, she is a beautiful woman, but the way the internet makes sure that someone that you haven't met doesn't feel like a person to you is like why we have the sort of conversations we have. Because Sydney Sweeney is in not just lots of movies. She's in, Handmaid's Tale. She's in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. She was in Madam Web. She just has range, right? She does a lot. And the way that people, every time she is on camera, every time she's even mentioned, the way that people, almost as like an understood, acceptable amount of creepiness creep on her, has been something that's like compounded over time. Like, she was in Euphoria, and then she was in other projects, and it compounded, and it started to like become exponentially creepy. And I think that this bathwater soap thing is brilliant on her part, because now she'll know the 5,000 men that need to be put on a list. Like, trust me when I tell you, if you buy Sydney Sweeney's bathwater soap, you will never meet Sydney Sweeney. That's gonna be her hit list right there. It's insane. It's truly wild. 5,000 bars. It's gonna go in a second. It's not even out yet. Doesn't come out till later. Just the anticipation is like going viral. And I don't know. We might be in a very bad place we can't recover from. You know, 5,000 bars. I'm assuming they're only gonna let one person have each bar. Just get as many people on the registry as possible. I don't even know what you would do with you. Like, that's something you would get caught with. If as a man you bought Sydney Sweeney's bathwater soap, you can't let anyone in your life know you have it. That's everyone gonna look at you different. Because they'll know, as soon as they see it, they'll know some things about you. Like, you were at your laptop ready. I suppose 5,000 men who are in a rough place are going to be buying this bathwater soap, which doesn't even make logical sense. It's dirty soap. And I say 5,000 men because I'm not saying that there's no women who have a crush on, Sydney Sweeney. I'm just saying that as men, we are both grosser and more practiced at using our laptops for these exact things. I'll tell you something that I don't even honestly, if I'm being 100% with you, I don't even know if I can word this correctly so you understand what I'm saying. I know a man who knows his favorite page of an adult website by the URL by heart. That is absolutely insane. Do you know how down bad thirsty you have to be to remember http // baddiesonrollerskates.com / bracket B12 %. It's him. Parentheses 2. I'm wondering how we got here. Truly, I'm wondering how we got here, not just as a society, but with the promotion, with the soap company. How did this happen? Because you know it wasn't Sydney Sweeney's idea. Sydney Sweeney didn't roll up in there like, you know what people love? Me. You know what I can spare? Bathwater. Let's sell it. That's business. I think a sick man, a definitely sweating man with an unfortunate voice, said to Sydney Sweeney and me, look. Look, young lady. I believe, and this is just Jebediah Jones talking, all right? Because a lot of nasty men talk about themselves in the third person. This is just Jebediah Jones talking. But I believe that people would pay for your bath water. We make soap. You bathe. Let's make some money. Like, truly, I think that's how it went down. No? Because even in the tweets that I've seen about it, I think these are Sydney's words because they're in the quotations. But in it, she's sort of playing off of the idea that this is a thing that people have talked about on the internet before, and she's like, well, this is something people have been asked for. Figured it'd be a fun way to do it. I hope it just makes men think about taking care of themselves, because I've been in some pretty gross dudes' bathrooms. That completely flipped the script for me. When I read that, I was like, what disgusting man made Sydney Sweeney go, I gotta do something. Sydney Sweeney is in your bathroom just looking around like, how the ceiling get dirty? No, I wonder what experience Sydney Sweeney had where she was like, I gotta do something, all right? I gotta figure it out. How can I get men to bathe? I'll do anything to get men to take a shower. Fellas, we're in a bad way. Because fundamentally, every man that buys that bar soap needs it. This is rough. This is really rough. Because even with that general idea, right? When you hear that as a man and you tell other men, guys, Sydney Sweeney put her bath water in soap to get you to buy soap. Because she just wants you to take care of yourself. Dudes are so delusional. They'd be like, she cares about me? Wow. I like to check in on my friends. I was texting a friend. I'll read it to you. I was texting. No, I told him I was going to do it. It's fine. I was texting a friend and I was like, hey, did you see the Sydney Sweeney bathwater thing? This is crazy, right? Like, we're truly down bad as a nation and as a people. And then he responded, yeah, I can't believe it doesn't come out till June 6th. Thank you for coming out on this exceptionally hot summer. This is genuinely crazy. This is like, this is bad. It's bad. Like, when you walk outside, you don't even appreciate the sunlight. You know what I mean? It's beautiful out, and you're like, oh, God. This is the type of weather where you're like, Greta was right. We might be doomed. We should have been listening when she was sailing or whatever the first thing she said was. This is really bad. This is the type of weather where it's so hot you start getting weird offers. Like, you go outside and there's just somebody standing on the corner like, hey, you give me $1 and I let you sit on my ice. I don't see any ice out here, sir. Trust me, there's ice. There's a bag behind you. Oh, it's also tough because I feel like it changes relationships too, you know? Like, it's so hot, somebody could live so close, but the test of love is which one's leaving their apartment. You know what I mean? You know? You'll live next to somebody a 15-minute walk away, but it'll be like, I could die. I can't be doing that just out willy-nilly just for you to see me. We can FaceTime, all right? Like, I feel like even the way people are sexting must be different, you know? You're just texting somebody, middle of the day, like, hey, I got that AC. Oh, no, it's not a window unit, babe. We doing central over. Oh, come through and get chilly, babe. It's like weirdly still sexual, but it's all cooling related. Like, I got popsicles. If you're feeling freaky, we could both just sit in front of the open fridge door. Oh, I was in Philly last weekend and it was so hot. It was in the 90s and it was so hot it made me want to be like a scammer. Like, I wanted to just start going to like Zillow open houses. Places I have no intention on putting an offer down on, just to stand to the AC, be like, oh, 2.5 bath, okay. And we actually have a beautiful patio outside. No, I believe you. I can see it. I can see it through the door. I can see it. No, don't do that. Oh. Sometimes someone that you love very, very much, right? Someone you care about deeply comes to you with a problem, and this problem is something like weighing heavily on them, right? It's taking up all their mental space or anything, and you love this person, right? And they come to you and they're telling you their problem. They're trusting you with whatever it is, and while they're telling you their problem, you realize that it's boring. Don't do that. Don't be good people right now. We've all had somebody come to us, a brother, a sister, an aunt, someone has come to us, and you, as they're telling you their problem, you're like, I don't give a shit about any of this. Like, why are they even telling me? I can't even help. What are they doing? This is ruining my Saturday. So sometimes someone that you love very, very much, deeply, comes to you with something serious to them that's a real problem, and it's boring. But somehow, overhearing a stranger's problem is always fascinating. I'll give you some examples. So a couple weeks ago, I was on the bus because life ain't going the way you think, right? And so I was on the bus, you know, the people's limousine, right? And I was on the bus and I was holding the rail, and another guy next to me was holding the rail, but he had his phone like this, right? Like tucked into his arm. And he was just like, I don't know what to do. All right? I do not know what to do. She keep fucking dudes off Facebook Marketplace. Yes, yes. I'm in. Tell me all. Because this man's on his phone like, I can't even trust her to go get a lamp. A couple days later, I was also on the bus because once again, life could be better, right? We'll get there, but until then, community Uber, right? And as I got on, I sat down next to this guy. Now, this guy is being louder, out loud, than my AirPods can get in my ear. So I don't even feel like I'm eavesdropping now. He offering this up to the class, okay? And so he's putting his phone down when I sat down next to him, but he was, calls somebody else. And basically, he calls this next person and tells them that the person he just got off the phone with was a woman who he had been hooking up with, who just called him to tell him that she was pregnant and she was keeping the baby, all right? And I don't know the best place, but the bus is one of the worst places to find out you're gonna be a father, all right? The bus is top 3 bad places to find out you're gonna be a daddy, okay? It goes jail, the toilet, the bus, right? And so this man is like, talking on the phone, and then he goes, yeah, it's wild because we didn't even have sex this year. And I was like, oh no. He's gonna be a father. And they kept talking and they kept talking. Now, I can't hear the other person on the other side of the line or anything, but I can just hear the right? Like I can hear that noise is happening, right? And so then they must have asked the question that was on my mind, which was, when was the last time y'all slept together? And it was like, yeah, I haven't even seen her, or like, we haven't hooked up since like August of last year. And I was like, uh-oh. He's not about to be a father. Like, oh. Fellas, we got to start learning at least a little bit about women's bodies. If nothing else, so we can't get fleeced like this. Like, this is... Because this man said, without stuttering, he was like, yeah, she about 10 months along, right? I was like... oh. And then they kept talking, they realized he actually did get the math wrong, right? The math was wrong. It was 11 months. And I was like, okay, so when do I step in now? as a stranger, right? Like when do I step up and step in to help? Because I've been missed my stop. I missed my stop. I missed my stop at 10 months, right? And so I'm at least 11 minutes that way, right? And so finally, I leaned over to him. I was like, hey, bro, I couldn't help but hear, we all heard, I couldn't help but hear, and I have good news, I have bad news. The good news is you're not about to be a father. The bad news is you should maybe never be a father. Bing. You also overhear wild stuff, like the heat changes people for real. Like there are things people do in the heat that they would not do otherwise. You know, like I was walking my dog, and in the background, like way down the street on the corner, I heard a little kid get into a fight with the ice cream man. Because once again, I'm walking my dog, and just in the distance I hear, nigga, it's a nickel. Even my dog was curious. Like, my dog and I both turned around. And the ice cream man was like, I don't care what it is, you short, little man. And this kid looked up, I don't know how old he was, looked up at the ice cream man, head can't reach the counter, and goes, your dick is short, I want my chocolate. How did we get here? How did these two individuals come together in this moment? Because one, who is this kid? But two, what happens in your life where you become an ice cream man that's really here to nickel and dime these kids? Like, that's really here to like actually buy actual nickels and dimes. Who says to themselves, you know what, I love passing out joy, but you know who needs to be taken down a peg? These children, okay? I'm trying to figure out what type of friend I am. You know, I think I'm a good friend to a certain degree. I feel like if I discover for myself the type of friend that I am, I'll be a better version of that friend to everybody, all right? Because I'll know my limits, I'll know what I'm willing to do, what I'm not, and everything. And I'm quickly realizing that I am not the advice friend. Don't come to me. Truly, don't come to me at all, because my advice to you will be directly related to how your problem affects me. I'm trying to let everybody know that now, in case, because you know, you never know. Sometimes you meet someone at the show, y'all become friends in real life, and then maybe they have a problem and they come to me, they're like, Josh, what should I do? I'm telling you right now, I am not objective. I'm not the one, right? Like, for instance, I have a lot of friends that are getting married this summer into the fall, right? So the big wedding season and everything. And so a couple of my friends have come to me, right? And you just need to know, if you're having troubles are normal, right? People get cold feet. People fight a lot leading up to a wedding. The stress, people's families sometimes don't get along. That stress. You know what I mean? Like, all of it is normal. But if you come to me, my advice to you will be directly correlated to if I already bought the gift. Because I had a friend come to me, his wedding was about, 2 weeks out. He was devastated and everything, and he was a good friend, so I had already bought his gift off the registry. It was a Vitamix 3500, so it was, yes. See, exactly, yes. 100%, yes. And so I'd already got that Vitamix, and anytime a relationship seems shaky, I look up the return policy just in case. And this particular model, they didn't carry anymore. So he comes to me and he's upset and everything, going on, and I'm just looking at the receipt. And so finally, he looking at me to say something. I was like, dog, you love her. Like, see your moon, your stars, all that stuff. Like, everybody cheat, okay? She gonna stop probably. Like, I had a different friend come to me, and this friend, the wedding was about like 2 days, like two days out, and my man comes to me, and his problem was very specific, deeply specific. Basically, his fiance and the wedding planner had planned out the whole wedding, pretty much top to bottom. They weren't really asking him for much, but then he was offering up. He was like, is there anything that you need me to do that I can take off your plate? And she was like, no, we got it. And he was like, well, there's got to be something, like, I want to be involved somehow. And so then she told him that basically they had everything planned down to a T, but he could pick the placemat at the reception, right? Like the little place, as long as it was in line with the color theme, he could pick that. And so then my buddy poured over for like several days, all these like little different, you couldn't even tell the difference between them, all these different placemats and stuff, and was like trying to make a good decision on the right one and everything. And he finally picked one, and basically, it seems like maybe she didn't like it because she had the wedding planner change it last minute. And then they didn't really talk about it. So his feelings were kind of hurt because he was like, oh, that was my one thing, and I took some real pride in doing it, and she didn't say anything to me. And it was a destination wedding, and I hadn't bought my ticket yet. I hadn't bought my ticket, and I hadn't got a gift yet. And so he was telling me about it, and I was like, I wouldn't take that if I was you, dog. Like, for real. Sometimes you gotta put your foot down, all right? I've been watching some of the older people in my life and everything, and it's crazy. My friend, his grandparents were together until his granddad passed away, and his granddad probably passed away at like 85 or something like that. But him and his grandmother got married young, so they were together for like 62 years or something like that. It was crazy, and people always want to know the sort of secrets to staying together and like having that sort of relationship, that bond. And he said that his grandma basically summed it all up very quickly. She was like, if you want to be with somebody for the rest of your life, you have to know and accept that the first year is lust, the next 10 years are love, and everything else after that is spite. And she said spite without missing a beat. Like she's like, that's a secret ingredient. Like every day you wake up and you're like, we go to war. And basically, she tells this story about how the night that his grandpa passed away, they had this routine where his granddad pretty much wouldn't even sleep in the bed anymore. He would sleep in his chair that could recline like his lazy boy, and then he would be falling asleep watching TV or something like that. But on that night, he went to bed with his grandma, and he passed away in his sleep, which is how a lot of people want to go. It's very peaceful, next to somebody you love. And then he wasn't there, but his mom was. And his mom said that when she woke up, she was getting ready and like making breakfast and stuff. And she heard his grandma from the room. And what she heard wasn't like some blood curdling scream or some like cry out or anything. She said she just heard, "Oh!" What? Ooh. And she apparently even said at the funeral that, so many people were coming up to her and telling her how sweet it was that he went to make sure he was laying in bed with her the night that he passed instead of like in his chair or something. And she was like, ain't nothing sweet about it. He did that on purpose. He knew. No, he knew he was going to die that night. And he wanted to put his cold ass feet on me one more time. Because they were cold when they were cold when he was living, but then they were cold, right? And at a certain point, you get used to the cold, and then you turn around and he all. Just laying up there like. And I told him take out that trash, and he didn't do it. I was talking to one of my friends, and he said that he knew the first time he knew his like neighborhood was broke was when the bank closed. It's a pretty good indicator. The bank holds that branch's money, and that branch is falling off. And said he went to the bank, and he basically just straight up asked the teller, he's like, "Hey, do you know why this branch is closing?" And she was like, "Are you here to make a deposit or withdrawal?" And he was like, "Withdrawal." And she was like, "Yeah, that's why. That's it in a nutshell. That's exactly what's happening. You do enough of that, and then there is no bank. We're just kind of a building with a little bit of parking." I don't know. I look back at the ups and downs I've had in my life. I've been like broke off and on my entire life, and there's a weird solace sometimes in being broke at the right time. Everyone thinks that the security is in having means and having money, but sometimes not being a part of the circus is its own solace in a weird way. You know that it's bad when you're really shopping at the dollar store. There are things anybody could use at the dollar store. You need a fly swatter, you might as well run up in the dollar store. You know what I mean? You need like a dustpan, might as well run up in the dollar store. But if you're really shopping at the dollar store, things are not great. I would go in the dollar store for stuff you shouldn't even be buying from the dollar store. They sell it, but even the cashier look at you like, "You sure?" I'm talking about where you have to get your meat at the dollar store. I knew I was in a bad situation when I went to a dollar store and was looking at that meat in the fridge, and I was like, Because the meat at the dollar store, they don't go into specifics. You go to Kroger, Walmart, you go to Target, you go to any of these places, and you'll see the brand of the meat, and then you'll see, you know, all of the little no preservatives ever, completely organic, you know, all the stuff. When you go to the dollar store and you buy your meat, it just says the price and it says meat. And you're like, maybe if I don't ask any questions, it can be whatever I think it is. Because then, I also got a lot of stuff at the dollar store, even as a kid, that I look back and I'm like, that probably wasn't the best. Like a good example, if you know, you know. When you shop at the dollar store, especially if you ever got toys at the dollar store, you know the dollar store toys are in a very specific, slightly copyright infringed arena of toy. You know, like you would have a G.I. Joe, but it doesn't say G.I. Joe. It just says soldier. And you buy this soldier, and it even got the setup like a G.I. Joe, like it stands like a G.I. Joe, but the legs a little too short. So some very long arms. I couldn't tell if the arms were long or the legs were short. And it doesn't have like grip action. It says that on the front, grip action. It just has a hole. They didn't make a hand. They made a hole stub. And then this hole stub is what you go ahead and put the little toy gun through. But then they didn't really measure out the gun versus the hand. And so the gun is not in proportion at all. So it looked like this would blow his arm off if he tried to shoot it. But you bring it home and you're playing with it. And you're like, yeah, soldier, get him. And he's like, I'm going to get him. Oh, I'm going to get him. They getting it right now. Trust me. Trust me. Nah, they getting it. Look. Point me over here. Point me over here. No, it was terrible. It was very bad. It was horrible. You know, you would have yeah, those dollar store crayons. That's another one. It's a very specific type of drawing as a kid, because those dollar store crayons, they melt in your hand. So you got to be quick with it. You got some imagination. It needs to come out now. You got to put those crayons in the fridge. I remember being around some of these crayon kids being like, your crayon's stale as hell. Man, y'all don't even freshen up your crayons. That's crazy. That's why your pictures stink. You know what I mean? My pictures smell like leftovers. I remember one of my favorite toys from the dollar store was like a Stretch Armstrong, right? But it was Stretch Armstrong. It would only stretch for like 3 days. Like you only got 3 good days. After that, it would get hard. And if you tried to stretch it after it got hard, it would cut your finger open. I don't know what it was made of, but it was the most malleable, unmalleable thing. It was Play-Doh and adamantium together. No, it was crazy. And that's the thing too, is when you're growing up in this situation, for anyone who knows what I'm talking about from experience, then you also know that it's very hard to know that you're broke, especially if you're a kid. It's hard to know if you are surrounded by love. My family loved me so much, so much. They still do. I make it sound like that. Make it sound like there was a falling out. They still love me. But no, I was surrounded by love. I had my grandparents, and my mom, and my dad's love. I had my aunt, and my uncle's love. I had my cousin's love. I had so much love around me. And when you're surrounded by that much love, you don't know that you don't have money when you have that much love until you meet somebody who has both. That is a curious experience. Like when you're like, oh, you got both parents and a pool? Okay, I think there can be upgrades to life. I see that now. To me, greed is a paradox because you want everything. Even if you have more than enough, even if you have so much that what you have is starting to hurt you in the long run. You see it with the way that hedge funds cannibalize whole companies. It's like, okay, everybody made some short-term profit, but now this thing that people used to love doesn't exist. You know? Like you take like a Southwest. You know, Southwest, people used to love Southwest. Bags fly free. Affordable tickets. You just sit wherever. You don't have to wait for the person. Southwest used to be so fire because then you don't have to wait for the person to get to their seat and you don't have to get up for anybody. Do you know what it's like to just be in your seat on the plane? And everyone's almost here. There's a couple of stragglers. There's almost nobody coming down that aisle anymore. You even settle in. You're like, oh, I may not have a seat next to me. This may be the promised land. You get so comfortable, you're like, man, I might put my other leg over here. Southwest had a brilliant idea. And the bags were flying for free, which makes sense. The bags don't know where they're going. Why should I have to pay for this bag to have an experience too? You know? And then greed, and then private equity, and then hedge funds, and then, you know, shareholder meetings, and then dividends. All the things start to creep in, and it's like, maybe we'll stop doing everything that is why everyone likes us. Maybe we'll just be like the other airlines. They make money, but then you actually look at the people who fly Southwest, and they were like, oh, y'all aren't nice enough to be like them, though. Like, your seat doesn't even go back like that. Why would I pay for everything here that I pay for over there? That's crazy. And so then you see people plummet, because they're making decisions based on money, but not money that they need, just more money that they might be able to get. You know? And there's only so much that a business can grow. I understand a startup's passion, and that passion makes sense because the company just started. But after a while, it's like, do you really need to own everything? If the answer is yes, it's like, and they don't say it to us. They say it to each other. You ever get a hold of a recording of a closed door meeting and the way they talk about their own customers? You know? That's why greed is like a paradox to me. You're so greedy that then you end up cannibalizing your own company, your own efforts, yourself. You end up hurting yourself. American greed is another paradox because as much as we know that the millionaires and billionaires maybe got their money in a way that's a little nasty, we also kind of want to be them a little bit. Everybody wants their piece, but we know how bad it is. You know, there are people who I know who want to be billionaires. They aspire to be billionaires. But if you ask them to name like a good billionaire, it's a hard quiz. But they want to be the billionaire because they're like, no, I will be different. How? You know? That to me is like a drug dealer saying, no, I'm going to be different. Oh, how so? Oh, I'll only like sell drugs to bad people. How will you know that they're bad people? You know, word will get around and they'll buy my drugs and I'll be like, that's a bad guy. No, it's not going to be different just because it's you. That's the trick as well. No, it's different when I do it.
It's different when it's me. It's different when it's for me. It's different when it's for my family. Right? So then you hear people talk about recession. That recession is coming. Recession is looming. And to be fair, people have said that since the last recession. Every year, I'm not an economist, but every year there's somebody that's like, it's coming. Get ready. Batten down the hatches. And so you're in this situation where, people are very worried, and understandably so. Because it's not really about the money. Money is mostly like the conduit. Money's mostly the placeholder. There are people who find money to be a game, and for them, the number is the important thing. How much actual money they can stack and hoard is the real thing. I want to show how rich I am is the real thing. But for almost everybody else, it's about their survival. It's about taking care of yourself. It's about taking care of the people that you love. So when they hear that there's going to be a recession, they're not really thinking like, oh, the number will go down. They're thinking about food. They're thinking about housing. They're thinking about resources. And the only way forward is with other people. We've proven that this thing doesn't work. And by this thing, I'm not just talking about like one specific system. I'm not talking about like capitalism. I'm not talking about anything like that. I'm talking about we've proven that a true rat race does not work. I can't believe the world watched Squid Game and was like, yeah, I think I could win the pot. The pot is the problem. And then I think the other problem is that if you are pitted against people, if you're pitted against the other 330 so million Americans, then yeah, the odds look insurmountable. But when you see how many people are actually in your situation, and you see how many millions of people are just like you, and you put yourself on the same side as them, all of a sudden, all of the weight, it gets a little bit easier. There are people around the world that will never have access to the things that we have access to that make it work. And so sometimes we stress, oh, how am I going to make it work? And it's like the number one way is through community. Your future is your neighbor. There's no other way forward. And I know that can be scary. That's an idea where you have to lay down so much trust at the feet of people that you don't know. That's very scary, because I've had good neighbors and I've had bad neighbors. I've had very bad neighbors. I had a neighbor who stole my trash can. It's the trash can. You could just put your trash in there too. Stole my trash can and lived next to me like I'm not gonna notice my trash can. And he was big too, and I'm pretty sure he sold drugs, so I wasn't gonna take my trash can back. But I was like, I will put my trash in my trash can over here though. Just because you stole the trash can doesn't mean I'm gonna get another trash can. It's a trash can, and trash goes in. You could have put your trash over here, but then you wanted to put it in front of your yard. Okay, fine, whatever. I'm sure you have a gun, so I won't make a big deal of it. But I've had bad neighbors, and I've also had incredibly kind, incredibly sweet neighbors. I had neighbors that made any transition period I've been having in my life easier. I remember when I moved to Chicago and I was living in my first apartment, I had a neighbor that knocked on my door. I had been living there for like 2 days, and I didn't have stuff. I'm like this broke kid who just moved to Chicago with like 2 suitcases of like clothes and a couple of other things. And so knocks on my door, and it's like, hey, this older guy, and he's like, hey, I saw that you moved in. If you need anything or you have any questions about the building, just hit me up. I live right there. And I'm thinking he's like the building manager or something. So I'm like, oh yeah, what's your name? And we get to talking a little bit. And as we're talking, I realize he doesn't work for the building at all. This dude is literally just checking on me for the sake of checking on me. And he's like, if you need anything, because I saw, you were having a little trouble, I couldn't have caught up to you, but I was going to help you up and everything. And I was like, oh, thank you, man. And we didn't see each other often. And I remember the day that I moved out, because I ran into him again. I ran into him and his wife. And he was like, man, I'm sorry to see you go, Because I can tell, just we never really got to chop it up or anything, but I could tell that I like the way you move. And you know, you didn't cause any trouble. You were just cool. And I wish I would have knocked on your door a couple more times, right? I never forgot about that guy, because even knowing that there was someone there if I was having a problem, it just made living there on my own a little bit easier. Just in the back of my head. Once again, we didn't even have that many interactions. I only knocked on his door a couple times. And the couple of times I knocked on his door, he needed help too. There was one time where we had in our building a chute for the laundry that nobody used. Nobody ever used it because it's not like it was one person. Do you ever, like, the chute for, this isn't Eloise. Like, it's weird that there was a chute for the laundry because it just went to the floor down there, and you'd have to go down there to wash your own clothes anyway. So I guess if you wanted to save yourself the weight of the trip, you could push all the clothes down and let them get nice and nasty, and then slip through the chute and then hit the ground, and now it's got different stuff on it than the reason that you're washing it. So nobody used it. And nobody used it because it was nasty. And so then one day, the actual building manager poured a whole bunch of like bug poison down it to try to like kill some of the bugs that had been living in there. And the bugs were like, you know what? I think we'll go everywhere else. And so then one day I came home and my apartment was just overrun with bugs, and it didn't make sense because I didn't even have stuff. I had a fork, a bowl, like it was kind of like a saucer. It wasn't a plate. It was a plate that you would put a teacup on. I didn't even have dishes to be nasty enough to have all these bugs. So I'm freaking out. I'm killing a bunch of bugs, and then I run over and I knock on his door, and when I open his door, he looks like me. He's like, "You too?" And both of us just knowing that we're both dealing with bugs was enough to make the whole thing easier. He helped me kill some of my bugs. I helped him kill some of his bugs. And we were both very upset with the building manager. I had another neighbor when I was living this like short little bit in this, I don't even know how to describe it. It was like, it was a house, but it was like, you know how there's it wasn't a duplex. Okay. The house I was living in was like perfectly split in two, right? To make two unlivable houses. Okay? So I wasn't staying there for long, but it was just two completely unlivable houses, right? And I had a neighbor that lived next to me where I moved in, and once again, this older lady, so sweet as could be, knocks on my door, and it's like, "Hey, I saw that you just moved in. She had baked something, like old school, like out of the movies. She had baked something. She was like, I made you a little some muffins. I know moving is hard. I know sometimes you don't have anything to eat right after you move. So this is for you, right?" And I was like, "Oh," I didn't even know what to do. I was like, "Oh, thank you. Thank you so much." And she was like, "Yeah, I like to help people get their bearings. And just so you know, I just want to be the one to tell you so you don't have to find out on your own. There's a crackhead in the wall." And when you get that type of warning, it does make you look at the muffins twice. One has nothing to do with the other. But I was still like, oh. And she was like, "Yeah, we thought it was a bird for a long time." And then he started talking. And so if you hear anything in the middle of the night, just pound on the wall a couple times and he'll stop. I was like, "Okay. All right. Okay." And I closed the door. And I sat in silence for the rest of the night, waiting to hear a noise that would never come. It wasn't until like months later I heard some scratching in the wall, and I was like, how does somebody just live with it? And so I knocked on her door, and she came to the door. She was like, you hear him too. And I was like, look, I know you lived here longer than me, but in case it is a bird, maybe we should call animal control. Just throwing it out there, right? And she's like, you can do what you want. I called animal control, and then they could hear the scratching too. And then they went ahead and went on the roof, and they said that they found a slight hole in the roof, and turns out it was a bird. It had been a bird the entire time, and I'm pretty sure it was a bird when she heard it, but maybe she just had the TV on. Maybe she was like, he's talking. Animal control leaves with the bird. I go over, I tell her it was a bird. Animal control called the bird, and she was like, thank you so much. Seriously, thank you so much. That has been happening for like 8 months, off and on, and I was positive it was a crackhead. And I guess that's what a good neighbor does. I guess a good neighbor lets you know nobody's in your wall. Because I think fundamentally the toughest thing people are facing right now is like a true way forward where they can trust other people to help them and take care of them. And I can't tell you to just blindly put your faith in people that you don't know, even if they live next to you. But what I can tell you is that most people return energy. Most people give like for like. So if there's a community that you want around you, all you have to do is be its founder. If you are the one knocking on your neighbor's door, letting them know you're here, if they need anything, they'll probably do the same for you. And it's so simple to build community. It's so much more likely that you're going to build community than you're going to become a billionaire. Do you know what I mean? Like, both things are incredibly hard to do. They take a lot of hard work and everything, and one of them means everyone will hate you. Because when you're broke as well, the thing that happens, I think, the most often is that we have a real misunderstanding of each other. The rich people that I've met in my life, no rich person I know feels rich. They feel comfortable. Now they'll do whatever it takes to maintain their level of comfort, but they don't feel rich. They're like, no, I'm just comfortable. I'm just chilling. And you show them how much they make, and they're like, yeah. I got to maintain, I got kids, and then you show them how much the rest of the world makes, and they're like, ooh. Okay, maybe we don't tell anybody how much I make. And the same thing, when you're broke, there's a genuine misunderstanding around the decisions that people make when they're poor, around the way that people think, because there's not the possibility of thinking past tomorrow, because you're not even sure you're going to get there. Do you know what I mean? When you really don't have means, when you really don't have money, you come off wild sometimes because all your requests are strange, because you're just trying to piece things together just so you can make it to the next day. Like a good example is I used to work at a grocery store, and one time in the break room, we're eating our lunch, and this one dude opened his lunch and then just said out loud to everybody, hey, I made a hamburger at home, but oof, does anybody have a top bun? Sir, they're always sold even. How did this happen? We look at money as paper, right? At least when it's in its physical form, it's this paper thing. But it's more than paper. There's fabric weaved into it. There's linen, there's cotton. It works the same way that society works. There's fabric that weaves all of us together. And there are people who have not been able to participate in the opportunities of making money or making their well-being out of these chances in the market the way that other people have. And so when you tell them that a recession is coming, they're like, oh, a what? Okay. I was already broke. Do you know what I mean? What is a recession to somebody who was on the street the whole time? I guess the best example I can give is one time I was at a party with my friends and I fell in the pool. And falling in the pool at a party is one of the more embarrassing things you can do when it's not a pool party. If you fall in the pool at a party where people are just sort of standing around the pool and talking, you might as well have fallen off the roof. But I fell into the pool at the party, which is not just embarrassing, it's not just annoying because now all my clothes are wet and everything. It's terrifying because I can't swim. You know what I mean? I'm not a swimmer in the way that I would like to be. And the way that I would like to be is to be able to survive. And so when it comes to swimming, I'm not a fan. I'm not efficient. And so I get in the water, and when you don't swim, and I don't just mean can't swim, I'm saying when you don't swim, like for fun or anything, being surrounded by water out of nowhere is very concerning. I didn't realize I had stepped into the pool until I was in the pool. So now what I feel like has happened is that I turned around and water surrounded me. And so I start doing what I think swimming is innately. I start fighting the water, right? I'm punching and I'm kicking and I'm like, get off me, water, but I'm in the water. But I'm like, get back. I don't want you over here. And that's not how water works. And so I'm sifting through the water, and it's almost like swimming, except I'm staying in place underneath it. So that is drowning. That's what drowning is. When you're swimming perfectly, but you're not going up above and you can't get your head up, you're not actually swimming. You're drowning, and it's also exhausting. You're fighting and you're punching, you're kicking, and you're moving, and you're doing a pretty good job of drowning. If you could get your head above water, this would be swimming. And if you could get your chest up, if you could do that butterfly thing, now you're a swimmer. But I am over here, no more water. Get out of my face, right? So then it takes someone pulling me out of the water for me not to actually drown. And not right after, not soon enough after, but pretty soon after, we leave the party. And not as soon as you would like if you almost drowned. Do you know what I mean? Like and it's tough too, because like the dude saved you as your ride. So now he's doing you two favors, you know? So then, you know, man saves me, and my buddy pulls me out of the water, and now, you know, we stay an extra 20 minutes because now he's got his MAC points for saving a life in front of everybody, you know? That's what most embarrassing. The only thing more embarrassing than like showing a whole party full of people you can't swim is to be sitting there wet while the person that saved you tries to mac on somebody. Just like, yeah, you know, I do what I can. I do what I try to help out the people, you know, and doing my best. And it's like, also, my band didn't. Look, I'm not necessarily trying to give notes on being saved, but like, my man did jump in the pool and grab me and lift me up and swim me to the shore of the edge of the pool, right? This man just stuck his arm in and kept clawing at me until he got the back of my shirt. That's barely saving. Like, when I tell you that I'm over here, stop it, water, no, I don't want any more. And then he is over here, bow, bow. And he missed like 8 times. So he was punching me in the head while trying to save my life. And he finally hooks his hand behind my collar and pulls me up the way that a cat sort of lifts its kitten in its mouth. You know what I mean? Just sloppy. And then I'm also still fighting. I don't know what's pulling me up, so I don't know if that's more drowning. I don't know what the effects of drowning feel like. So now I'm not necessarily fighting his hand, but I am still fighting the water. And so if you were on the other side of the pool, it does look like I was drowning. He reached in, dunks me one more time just to be safe, and then pulled me up. Because I don't know that he's trying to help me. But when he finally pulls me up and I'm over here coughing up the water and everything, this man helps me get up out of the pool and then immediately sees the eyes on him and everything, sees the opportunity, and he's like, oh, yeah, you know. I do what I can. Also, I know he saved my life and everything, but also the fact that he didn't need to roll his sleeves up like that. Like that was even more just worth like, oh yeah, you know, I tried. Now you sitting here wet, just like, can you wrap it up, get the number or don't? And so then me, him, and some other friends head to his car once he's ready to leave, and his car won't start. Waited for nothing. Now, luckily, we were staying at his house, and luckily he did live close enough to the party that we could walk. It was like maybe, I don't know, like a mile and some change. It wasn't crazy. And so we start walking. As we start walking, it starts drizzling. And then it's drizzling a little bit more, drizzling a little bit harder, and then it really starts raining. And when it starts raining, all my friends did a different thing when it was raining. Like, I had one friend that did the turtle. Just walking and just trying to... And I get it, because he has some deep collarbones. He would have had 2 lakes on either side of his neck if he had just let the water hit. That would have been 2 puddles he had to carry. So I understand him trying to... Then I had another friend who was over here doing this, which genuinely pissed me off. That's one of the craziest things I've seen. You have 2 hands, one hand covering some of your head, but not even efficiently. Where's the distance management here? You'd be better putting the hand on your head. Then I had another friend who just decided to lean forward, because I guess he just doesn't want a wet front. He's just cool with it all hitting the back. And as it's raining and raining, my friend is over here doing this, turns to me, because I'm just walking. I'm not doing any of this. I'm just walking normal. And they're like, oh, John, you must not mind the rain. And I was like, I almost drowned 20 minutes ago. And that's what it's like when you're broke. You're almost drowning all the time. So when people try to scare you with talks of a recession, you're like, why would I? What? You're doing this. I'm already wet. And the way to ensure that you're going to be okay, the way to ensure that your family is going to be okay, is by creating chains, by linking up together with other people, with other families. Because the way forward, your future, I guarantee you, it's not in the market. There's a belief that, like, if I can just get enough ahead, maybe I'll pull some other people with me. And that sort of thinking is the reason that we as the people can be taken advantage of so easily when it comes to money. It's like, I can get you a little bit ahead. Oh, I'd like to be a little bit ahead, right? But the way forward, your future, I promise you it's in your neighbor. I promise you, there's no one that's going to take care of you like the people that are actually next to you. And it's kind of daunting to me. It does freak me out a little bit that there are so many people, every election, every year, no matter who's president, that expect the person in office to make them rich. Don't you know this is America? Do you know what I mean? Like, that's just not how it works. It's not how it's ever worked. You may like the person in office, you may not, but I guarantee you they're not going to make you rich. That's not how anything works. And don't get me wrong, I've had dreams before. I had a hard time getting to know people, and I had a hard time communicating with people. I'm an only child, and my mom wanted me to have friends so I wouldn't be crazy. And so, as a single parent with one kid, my mom, the only thing she knew how to do was go ahead and take me over to her other single parents' friends' houses where they had one kid. And she was like, maybe y'all will just play and not be crazy together. And sure enough, there was a time in my life where my parents got back together. And so we were a 2-income household. So I started to get the good toys, right? The real good toys. I'm talking WCW, NWO, wrestling toys, Sting, Goldberg, Kevin Nash. And sure enough, you know, I remember I got those toys. Those are some of my favorite toys in the world because I didn't know ankles had come out yet. I would hold up my Kevin Nash and I'd be like, bow, 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 bow. Look what he does. Bow, 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 bow. He had knees, he had ankles, he could do this. That's crazy. I was used to this only. Maybe if you were getting fancy, some of this, but I wasn't used to this. This thing right here, this is crazy. Real shoulder movement? My mind was blown. It's like, look at what this thing can do. Bow, 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 right? And so then my mom took me over to her friend's house, and her friend had a kid, and you know, I went ahead and brought over 2 of my toys. I brought my Kevin Nash and I brought my Sting because I'm trying to make a good impression. And so we're talking, they're talking, and finally we go to his room to play, and my mom leaves to go run some errands or something. And I quickly realized after my mom left that he was crazy. He was genuinely crazy because all of his toys, every single one of his toys, didn't have a face. None of his toys had faces. I don't know if he was chewing them or if he was burning them, but they were gone. And so he looked at my Sting toy and he was like, oh, we have the same one. And I was like, I don't see how that's possible. I don't see how that's possible. And then sure enough, this kid pulls out his Sting toy, and I know we have the same toy because the Sting had the jacket. The jacket you could put on, you could take off and everything. And so we're playing, and I'm trying to be a collaborative new friend, right? I'm like, what do you want to do? You want to do Legos? You want to do like wrestlers, whatever? And then we decide Legos. So I was like, do you want to build a castle? You want to build a wall? What do you want to do? So we decide to build a castle, right? And then this kid, we're halfway through the castle, maybe 100 pieces to go. And this kid grabs the castle, lifts it up, throws it against the wall. It explodes into like 190,000 pieces. And I'm like, what did you do that for? And he goes, don't talk to me. And I was like, oh man, yeah, chill, Satan, chill, okay? Back up, devil, okay? Because I had been prepared in case the situation happened, because I knew I wasn't a crazy only child, but I knew there were other crazy only children out there. So I already had my thing on me, right? I had that lance in my back pocket. I was like, don't you come near me. I will cut you open. This thing is 6 weeks old.
I've struggled with an idea for a while, and it's how like everybody, this sounds so dumb, just hold on. Give me a second. But it is crazy that everybody is a person. What I mean by that is when you're like a little kid and you just living your life, you know, you go to school and then you go home and then sometimes you play with your friends and sometimes you stay in and you watch cartoons. You know that you have a life. You know that you're a whole person, even if you don't have a full awareness of yourself. You know that you go to different places and you do different things. Even when you have a new experience, it doesn't even occur to you to be like, oh no, I don't do that. Because you're a kid just experiencing the world. But there are boxes that we put people in. I think it's completely unintentional. I don't think there's any malice behind it. But I remember the first time that I realized that someone who I definitely cared about and I definitely enjoyed their company and I definitely liked was a whole other person. I was a little kid. I was with my mom at the grocery store and we saw my teacher. And I was shocked. I was like, I said it out loud. I said it to her. Why aren't you at school? If you're here, then whose? It was a crazy thing in my head. My brain was breaking in that moment. I'm this little kid. I've only ever seen her at school. She's supposed to be at school. I shouldn't see her if I'm not at school. And she's over here buying groceries. I was like, you eat groceries? This is wild. And then she was over here having a conversation with my mom. They both ignored me asking why she wasn't at school. I still had questions. And then she, said she'd see us on Monday and walked away. And in my head, I was like, Monday? It's Saturday. She's not even going to be at school tomorrow. Blew my mind that one of my favorite teachers had like a house. And like, I'd always heard about her husband, but I thought that's just something teachers say to like pass the time and stuff. She had a whole life. And it feels like a silly lesson to learn when you're a kid, and then you get older and you realize you have to keep relearning it over and over again because you meet more and more people and you've already boxed them in. And then they surprise you. And then you think, oh, I'm a little ashamed I was even surprised. I should know from when I was like 6 that people are like, everybody's a person. But it's an easy lesson to forget because you can only sometimes see a person in a certain way. Like my friend, I have a couple friends now who they've got drunk with their parents, and it's a boundary that some people never break with their parents. Sometimes their parents are like, oh, I'm gonna have a couple drinks, but I'm not gonna be drunk in front of my son. You know what I mean? And then there are people who will always have that thing of like, oh, I don't want to be drunk in front of my parent. You know what I mean? It's like weird. I feel like I'd be in trouble. It's like, well, you're 42. Yeah, but still. I don't know. I don't want my mom to see me drunk. And it's like, well, she saw you at your worst as a baby. I guarantee you drunk just brings you like one step above baby. But it was an interesting thing. My friend said that he got had a couple drinks with his dad. Now his dad was a sort of interesting case because when he was a kid, I don't know all the details, but his dad drank. And then there was something, whether it was something that happened or just like a general attitude towards drinking. At one point, his dad was like, you know what? I'm just not going to drink anymore. And he went like cold turkey sober for years and years and years, right? So he drank pretty heavily when my buddy was a kid, didn't drink until he was long out of the house. And it wasn't until after my buddy graduated college that his dad would like drink once in a while, you know, have a drink with him. And finally one day his dad was like drunk with him. And he noticed his dad like drunk. And he was like, it's crazy because I know my dad used to drink. And I can only see my dad as my dad. So knowing my dad is like an annoying drunk. I don't know. I guess I forgot he could be a whole person. Like, because his dad had this weird like rivalry with him when he was drunk. He, you know, walk up to him, impromptu, off of nothing. They're in the backyard. And he's like, hey, you know, looking good, young man, looking strong, looking tough. I mean, you looking real strong. You know, what? You think you're stronger than me? What? I mean, no. Do you think he's stronger than me? We should race. You want to race? And he knows that a foot race with his dad sober wouldn't even be a contest. So he's like, nah, Dad, I'm good. He's like, no, come on. You know, if you're scared, say so. If you're scared, say so. If you're scared, the old man still got it. If you're scared, say so. Said he made it into one of the most annoying songs he had ever heard in his life. Just until he would raise him, if you scared, say so. And finally, he's like, all right, look, we'll race, fine. And he thinks if he stands up, his dad might just forget, you know, because he's at that level of drunk where he's on a mission, but not a mission he has to complete. Y'all know that mission. This is one of my favorite missions to watch people have on like a night out. You know, especially with like, but one of my favorite side quests in any night out that a bunch of ladies are having is finding one of their phones. One phone will go missing, and it will be the biggest deal in the world for 12 minutes. And then the person whose phone is missing will be like, let's just dance. It's like, all right, but you should go get your phone though. Like, you do need to call an Uber at some point and get home. Like, we need your phone. It's like, yeah, but like later, like, I don't know. It's just like, I don't even care. It's like, this is my song. And then it resets because then like several songs later, it'll be like, yeah, you look so good. I'm gonna take a picture of you. I'm gonna. Oh my God, everybody stop. Everybody stop. Not their friends, everybody in the club stop. Everybody stop. And so this dude stands up thinking like his dad's about to be over it anyway. And he's like, Dad, I really don't want to, like, we're having a good time. Like, let's just chill out. And his dad goes, no, race me. And he's like, all right, fine, okay. So they line up. He's not really gonna race his dad. He's gonna like walk and let his dad win so he can feel good about being annoying for 15 minutes. But his dad stands up and he's ready. You ever see somebody look at a finish line like it's moving? Just like, And then he said, all right, you ready? And they had already decided that his mom would say when to go. And so she said, go. And my buddy didn't even go. His dad took 3 steps and crashed into the patio table. I don't know, yeah, it's gotta be tough. That's a moment that's like, you just know that now. You know your dad your whole life, and then now you're like, oh yeah, but like after the 5th Jameson, he will. You know. And that changes how you look at your dad a little bit, not even in the form of judgment, just like there's more information and you see him as like a whole person. You know good, you know bad, you know arguing with him, you know, and now you know this thing that you didn't really experience in the same way when you were a kid. Now you know, even 4 Jamesons in, he's gonna go, no. Oh, like I don't know if it's possible to remind yourself every time, every day, that a person is like a whole person. Because we are so distant. Person to person. Like when you meet someone that you've maybe heard about, you can only go off your impression. That impression is colored by whoever told you about this person. And it's hard to remember. I try to remind myself all the time that like, we're meeting this person. Nothing nice has been said. But I'm sure they have a dog. I don't know. Like some redeeming quality. You try to approach it like that. And, you know, I fail at it a lot. You know, sometimes I let, whether it's gossip or just like a preconceived notion, take over. And then you end up being friends with this person. And you feel even worse because you're like, oh, I judged you so harshly when we met. You know, some of my best friends, when I met them, hated their guts. I hated because I was just like, oh, just look at his face. One of my best friends from college, when we met, us meeting was me asking him for a pencil and him going, what? And so I just turned back around. I was like, all right, jerk. Turns out he just didn't hear me. We're like really good friends now, but yeah, that was not a great way to start. One of my best friends, we had that same thing. So he's a big dude. He's like 6'4", 6'5", like a strong guy, wide guy, right? Big dude. And we were both friends with a different guy. This is freshman year of college. And we had both done things in front of each other that made us go like, I don't know if I like that guy. Like I like our mutual friend, but I don't know if I like him. And then we kept being in scenarios where maybe we were waiting for our mutual friend, so we were left alone with each other. And in my head, maybe it's because of where I come from, and maybe it's because I've never been the biggest guy in the room, but this is a big old dude, and he doesn't seem like he liked me. So in my head, I was like, I just gotta act crazy. Like if I'm crazy, that'll keep at bay his size. Because even a big man doesn't want to get bit. You know what I mean? I don't care how big or strong you are. Once everybody saw what Mike Tyson did to Evander Holyfield, they were like, oh yeah, crazy wins. Crazy will always win. I like my whole ear where it is. And then he noticed me being crazy. And so he was like, all right, I'm gonna have to flex how big I am. There was one time where we were waiting on our mutual friend because, forgot to mention earlier, our mutual friend was his roommate. So I had to be in their room a bunch before we actually got along. And I don't know, I saw him like eyeing me, and this is a college dorm room. So there's not a lot of space. So I'm like, this big guy's eyeing me. We're both waiting for our friend. So then I didn't know what to do. So I just started singing lyrics to Kanye West's 808 on a Heartbreak. No music. Impromptu. And lyrics I chose were, when I grab your neck, I touch your soul. And I just sang it to the wall, but loud enough for him to hear me. And I would later find out that when I did that, he was like, all right, that's one of the craziest things I've ever seen. In my entire life, I was trying to mug this dude into submission, but now he done sang to the wall, not even facing anything. I don't know what he talking about. Why did he sing it too? That's crazy. That's crazy as hell. It's so much crazier to sing than it is to scream. Like if you come across somebody on the street and they scream it, you're like, all right, that's regular. If they are singing lyrics you don't know exist yet, because the album had just come out, if they're singing lyrics you don't know exist yet, get away. And so he was like, I gotta do something. Got to do something. And the thing that he decided to do was we both got a text from our mutual friend that it would be quicker for us to meet him where he was than wait for him to come back and us head out together. And so we decided to head out together. And while I'm in the hallway, it's a long hallway from the dorm room to the end of the suite. And when I'm in the hallway, I go, ah. And he says, what? And I'm like, I think a mosquito bit me. And I was being completely sincere in this moment. I started itching. I was like, what? And he's like, what happened? I think a mosquito bit me. And then he stands extra tall, every bit of 6'5", lets his eyes dart around the hallway and goes, you hurt my friend. And then he punched the wall as hard as he could. And when he moved his fist from the wall, there was a dead mosquito. And I was like, oh Lord, he big and crazy. Oh, I'm sick. Oh. And then we became best friends. We became best friends because we got to know each other. We got to know each other, and I got to know him as a whole person. I got to know how cool he was, how sincere he is, that he would do anything for his friends, including that mosquito thing. And he got to know me, and he still liked me. So we became best friends because I got to see like the whole person, you know? And then finally one day I told him about it. I was like, hey, freshman year, because when we were juniors, we became roommates. And I told him, like, hey, I just want to get something off my chest. Freshman year, when I was in the room with you and I just started singing. I was just trying to be crazy because I thought like you were real big and like, I don't know, I had been bullied a lot, so I was trying to like keep you at bay. And he was like, oh, that's so good to know. Which means in the time that we had become friends, he still thought like, no, that's what he does though. Like that's who he is as a person. I was like, that's so good to know, because honestly, I was wondering what I'd have to do. I thought you were genuinely crazy. And that's why I punched that wall. When I moved my hand, I couldn't believe the mosquito had actually... It's wild stuff. Yeah. Yeah. Because it's tough sometimes accepting that someone was like a whole person. Because it is easier. If someone sucks, it's easier to just, lean on exactly what you know, and that's enough for you, and they suck, and that's the end of it. It's not necessary in your mind to get down to the deeper root of the issue about why they might be the way they are. Whatever. They suck, and I'm done talking about them. Like when I think about some of the most powerful people in the world, I think that way all the time. I forget that it's like a whole person because they suck. They suck so much. Like, I do my best to not be closed-minded about people. But the more I learn, the worse it gets. And no person is just one thing. Even monsters. Some monsters that get true crime documentaries made about them. They'll interview the kids. And sometimes the kids will be like, yeah, actually, he was like a super present father and everything. Like, it was kind of crazy. I know he killed all those people, but he came to all my soccer games. Like, it's a lot to process. No. Like, I don't know what makes a person. I'm not a psychologist. I don't know what makes a person the way that they are. I just have guesses. Sometimes my guesses are good, and I get to have a conversation with the person and see that I was kind of close. And then sometimes my guesses are totally off base because I don't have their mind. I can't act like I know why someone is the way that they are. I know for certain because of the people that I've been around. I know that sometimes when you grow up with real money, real privilege, it can be very difficult unless you are like delusional enough to accept the position you're in as anything more than like the randomness of who is born to who. It's very difficult to feel like you've made or earned anything yourself. If you are just born into billions, you see that's one of the reasons these people have to like make their mark on the world to prove that they're not just like some accident. Because within those families sometimes, and like, look, I'm not acting like I know billionaires. I know millionaires. And it's a little similar, but at the same time, there are some millionaires that are barely millionaires, so they still acting like they're middle class. Even though they're millionaires, it's actually pretty sad. And then there are people that are like multimillionaires, and I don't even really know that many multimillionaires, but I know those people have at least accepted their position as people with like wealth and privilege, right? I don't know any billionaires. But I do know the people that I am friends with that work with like truly insane net worth individuals have said things like, at a certain amount of money, it's not even money anymore. It's just you moving your will throughout the world. And that is how people with that much money think. And so if you are like a child born into this thing, especially if you don't take to it the way that we imagine people will take to it, because remember, a person is a whole person, but a lot of people will have a kid and have an idea of a child before the child is ever there. And then that idea of a child is exactly what this whole person has to be, or else they're a disappointment, or else they're a failure, right? I had the idea of you before you were ever here. And the idea of you that I had was, we play these sports together. I teach you to do this thing. We go to these things. You love the stuff that I love. Those are the hopes of like every parent. Every parent wants to share the things they love with their kid, and hopefully the kid loves them too. Because as much as you love your sports team, as much as you love your favorite hobby, it'd be so much more enjoyable if the person you love the most loved it too. A lot of people have those hopes. That's common. That's normal. But this like world of wealth, they have an idea of maybe building a legacy, building an empire. And now whoever comes, whatever this child is, they will be someone who can uphold, build up, maintain the empire that I built. They're not having like a child. They're having a vessel to continue their wealth into the future. And that's got to be difficult to grow up in, because yes, you have all this money, you have all this privilege, you have access to all these different things, but there's a person looking at you like you don't even deserve to be here. And then there's everybody else that if you tried to tell them how it felt, they'd be like, oh, I'm sorry I couldn't hear you through all that money. You know? Cry me a river. You ever felt a penny before? And so you see people really trying to exercise out all of this trauma in a way where they still move their will throughout the world. So then we become the collateral damage of them trying to exorcise demons, because they have the access to change the world the way that they see fit. And that leaves us in a very dangerous position. And I don't know exactly how to fix that, what to do about that, but I do know it presents itself in like little moments. Small moments where you can see, oh, this is like a kid. This is like a hurt kid. You know? Most powerful man in the world. Incredibly rich, billionaire. But this is a kid. This is a scared kid. This is a hurt kid. This is an angry kid. And I'm not saying that takes away all the damage, all the things that are being created by what this kid is doing. But like, I see you differently now. Like, in theory, I should be scared of you. I should be worried about what your next move is going to be. I should be worried if you're going to send someone to hurt me or my family, because you could do that. You're a very powerful person. But then things happen. And I see you react like a kid. And it's weird to see you as a whole person, you know? Like, I'm not going to... How do I put this? I could tell Trump was hurt by that South Park episode because the White House released a statement. There are school shootings where the White House doesn't release a statement. The White House released a statement. They were like, hey, look,
South Park hadn't been relevant for a while now anyway. Nobody even watched. Ain't nobody crying. Nobody hurt. No. Like I've watched I watched Trump go to the Fed. He went to the Fed and he was with Jerome Powell. Now, Donald Trump put Jerome Powell in that position. All right? Donald Trump made Jerome Powell Fed chair, right? And now Donald Trump can't stand Jerome Powell and doesn't know who appointed him. And so he goes to the Fed. I guess they showing him where they make the money, shred the money. I don't know why he needed to go. He goes on a field trip to the Fed. You know, this is a very funny thing about Donald Trump. He has been very rich his entire life, but he still acts like new money. I have expected Trump to see the money being printed in front of him and go, but this dude he's at the Fed with Jerome Powell, and look, you can say numbers. You can say numbers in whatever order you want. No, you can say numbers and he can say more numbers. You can say numbers, that's your right to say numbers however you see fit. Whatever numbers you like, you can say them in 4, 3, 3, 4. You can do whatever you want. Numbers are there for you to play with. Numbers serve at your pleasure, right? Say whatever numbers you want in whatever order you want, whenever you want. That will not make it math. And so Trump is talking to the media, and he just like throwing out numbers. He's saying numbers, right? He's numbers, good numbers, and some bad numbers. Let's get those bad numbers out of there. Good numbers, more numbers, extra numbers, right? And quickly, almost immediately, Jerome Powell is standing off to the side, and he goes, "Oh no." Jerome Powell was shaking his head. You know those people who got like perfect pitch? Jerome Powell was shaking his head like somebody with perfect pitch going to karaoke. Like it's... And look, this is not something that happens often. No, Trump's used to talking, and when he talks, people either nod or they stay quiet. And we saw this in spectacular fashion in like 2020. Because he would stand up there, and then the people next to him, the people behind him, sometimes you catch them being like, huh? Like they were still trying to process what he said. But then he would just be talking. And sometimes he'd even turn to them, look for some confirmation. What do you think about that? And then they would be like, we'll have to check. I've never had the taste of bleach in my mouth, but... I suppose anything's possible. These experts, these doctors, these people, they weren't doing the thing that they should have been doing, which was because he didn't just shake his head. He said it. He said it out loud. No, no, no.
No, no, no. Maybe we wouldn't be in this position if more people, and I'm not even talking about politicians right now, I mean more people, more people who have to deal with government had the courage to say, no, that's not how medicine works, no, that's not science, no, that's not English, no. A simple no is powerful, you know? And so sure enough, Trump hates Jerome Powell. Trump hates Jerome. Oh, he hates Jerome. Oh. Trump hates Jerome. Trump hates Jerome. Like, let Jerome. Trump hates Jerome Powell, so he hate him so good. Trump hates Jerome Powell so much, he did something he never does. He did something we haven't seen him do. Either time he's been president, he did something I didn't even think he was capable to do. Trump hates Jerome Powell so much. Through his teeth, he hate him. He hate him so much that Donald Trump did homework. Because he was saying the numbers, and he was saying the numbers, and he was saying the numbers, he was saying the numbers. And then Jerome Powell went, no. And even Tim Scott was next to Trump, nodding and saying yes, while he was saying no. Yes, with those big teeth, saying yes, swinging those teeth, yes. But Donald Trump heard Jerome Powell's no, and it was almost like he had practiced this. He was ready. He hates Jerome Powell so much. Ooh, he hates he hate him. And so he goes, huh? What? No. Oh, well, I have the paper right here. And then Donald Trump pulled out a piece of paper and handed it to Jerome Powell like it was checkmate. I had never seen this man prepared in his life. Usually, when Trump has a chart or a piece of paper, it's because he already has a point he's trying to make, and he's just using that to illustrate. Trump has never had a Trump card. Man pulled out the piece of paper. You could see even Jerome was surprised. He was like, paper? Reading? You saw Jerome had to break out the glasses for it. He was like, oh. And because numbers are numbers, because math is at least something that, even if you have bias, even if you have an intention towards an intended goal, the math will still make sense or not make sense. Something will be true or not true, right? And so even Jerome Powell, I'm not saying I know this man, I'm not saying he's infallible, but in this moment I'm thinking maybe he's even thinking, whoa, what if I'm wrong here? What if there's something I don't know about? The president just pulled a piece of paper out as soon as I started saying no, like he rehearsed this. So he takes the piece of paper, throws the glasses on, and you can see him reading it. You can watch the clip. And he goes, no, this old, no.